everybody. Welcome back to the second week of May. I hope you had a good weekend. I hope you treated Mom very nicely for Mother's Day. And now we're back for another week of school. So last week, we discussed President Gerald Ford and President Jimmy Carter. So as you likely remember, Jimmy Carter had a little bit of a tough presidency because he used his faith to try to explain away certain things, and the American public wanted actual results. They didn't want him to just pray. So he ran for re-election in 1980 as a Democrat, and this former movie actor named Ronald Reagan decided that he was going to run for president against Carter. And Reagan was a tough-as-nails, old, die-hard conservative who won in a landslide. He came in and he did a lot of drastic changes to the economy. They called them Reaganomics. I'll get into that when I talk about your slides for the week. But this week you only have two assignments. You have a current event, which is for Friday, and a couple of you have already finished it, which is awesome. But remember, you're picking a topic, you're finding two articles on hopefully different sides of it. You are talking about a summary of what happened based on looking at both of those things. Then you are saying, why does this matter to the world? And why does this matter to you? Why did you pick it? What stood out to you from it? Do not forget that you must put the two URLs so I can find your articles and read them. So that is our current event for the week. You're accustomed to these. We've done them for a long time. Hopefully you feel comfortable. If not, reach out to me. I'll help you more. Your second assignment for the week is a Reagan web quest. Now, Ronald Reagan web quest, you are going to go on here and you're going to visit the various websites and answer the questions. Now, if one of the websites are blocked or something like that, you can simply do some online research to answer those questions. Sometimes, particularly on the Chromebooks, stuff acts up a little bit, so make sure you follow directions. It says answer the following questions in red using the links. The coolest part about this is you're going to watch some different advertisements from Ronald Reagan and Jimmy Carter. This is awesome because you know what advertisements look like for politics today, but they looked very different back then. So I want you to really think about what was the point of the advertisement? What were they trying to achieve? Was it persuasive? Was it not? What can we learn about how we do stuff today versus how it was done then? And once you're finished your web quest, that's it for the week. But I shared some Reagan slides with you because since we're not together, I still want you to get a grasp of what was actually going on with history. So Ronald Reagan, he brought in the rise of this modern conservative movement. It talks about his life. He worked a ton of jobs. He was a lifeguard, a radio announcer. He became an actor, was in a ton of movies. He was a Democrat for a long time, but then he switched to the Republican Party in the late 50s and early 60s. Most of that was because he did not want to be declared a socialist when Joseph McCarthy was in there. So in 1980, he runs for president against Jimmy Carter, and he won very easily. So he brought in these conservative evangelical Christians. He said, we need to restore Christian values in America. Now, Jimmy Carter was Christian, but Reagan said, you can be Christian and still do what you have to do, still be tough. So he got Southern Democrats in. he reduced some of those social programs, tried to take away some of the New Deal programs and the Great Society stuff. He said, we need a smaller government. We need to have a strong military, because if you don't have a strong military and somebody wants to come after you, then you don't have anything. You can't back yourself up. Like he threatened the Iranians to get those hostages back, as we talked about last week. And he said, we need to be patriotic. Brought the flag back. Let's put all this stuff out there. Make stuff look good. We need to be proud of our country. Our country is proud. It's strong. It's powerful. So Reagan came in. He was considered the great communicator because he said things in a few words. He talked to the common people, and he really came across as a strong person. So if you can see here, green was what Reagan got. Blue was what Jimmy Carter got. So you see that Carter only won like 4 states. So once Reagan was in there was a presidential assassination attempt. Reagan was getting into a car, and a man named John Hinckley Jr., he wanted to kill the president, not because he didn't like Reagan, but because he was a big fan of this movie called The Silence of the Lambs. If any of you have seen this, it's about a serial killer named Hannibal Lecter, and there's a detective and like psychiatrist who's talking with Hannibal Lecter, trying to figure out who he's killed, where the bodies are, stuff like that. So that character was played by Jodie Foster. And so John Hinckley Jr. said, well, she liked that serial killer in that movie, and if I kill the president, Jodie Foster will be in love with me. Obviously, you can tell that John Hinckley Jr. was a little bit mentally unhinged. So he shot 3 people, including Reagan. It was only less than 3 months into his presidency. Now, Reagan got shot in the chest and in the lung, and he kept on walking. I mean, he just kept going. He got in the car, and it looked like not much had happened. Now, his press secretary got a shot in the head and became disabled. But, I mean, a lot of people say Reagan's really cool because he got shot in the chest and kept on walking. I mean, honestly, he didn't have far to walk. But the point is, it didn't, like, knock him out completely. So Reagan also was a big fan of, we need to cut taxes and put money in the hands of business. So he called it Reaganomics. He said lower taxes. So if we lower taxes, then we're going to encourage investment. We're going to try to push for industrial growth. Now, he really wanted to fix those economic woes that President Carter had. So he expanded the energy system, transportation and banking industries. He also said we need to deregulate a lot of our programs. The government should not be more involved in the people's lives than it has to be. So the air traffic controllers, now they're the people who they tell planes and pilots what to do, like when to come in and stuff like that. So he said, we need to not have their union, okay? We need to cut down on these unionized jobs because people can just strike and then they're still guaranteed a job. And he didn't care for it. So the air traffic controllers wanted more money. They went on strike. And he said, get back to work. You have your 3 days of your strike. After the 3 days, go back to work. I'm not giving you anything else. Well, A lot of them didn't go back to work because he did not budge. He did not give them more money or less work time or any of that. So he simply fired them. He said, I told you to come back to work. If you don't come back to work, I'm firing you. And he did it. So he was a man of his word. He really worked on limiting the government. He said, we need to reduce how much money we give to people who are unemployed, pay people for a short time, but we need to motivate people to get back out there to work. So he also raised fees for Medicare patients. Now, he really wanted to save the government money. He said, we don't need a big government. We just need to put money in the hands of people.